for joining us today for this latest Far Hill Speaker Series event. This is a rescheduling of our March event, and we're very pleased that Johnny could reschedule for us and make this happen. So the Far Hill Speaker Series is a collaboration between the Wright Memorial Public Library and the Oakwood Historical Society. And we are very pleased. I'm very pleased to be part of the collaboration. It's been wonderful, and I think we've been able to bring some really interesting topics to our community's attention. Today's is going to be pretty fascinating, I think, having to do with the Dayton 1913 flood and African-American experience at that time. As I said earlier, if you have questions or if you have any technical difficulties, please use the chat to let us know. I will be monitoring that chat, and I will be able to respond to you during the presentation. If you have questions for Johnny, he's asked that we kind of hold those until the end before he answers them, but you can share them through the chat. So we'll hold those until the end. And then at the end of his presentation, we'll also open it up a little bit more, and we can use, there's a Q&A functionality we can use. And also we can allow you to speak at that time so we can have a little bit more interaction. If for any reason you can't hear us, the audio options are on the left side of your screen. So you can call in by phone to get the audio, or you can go to the YouTube. Of course, if you can't hear me, you can't hear what I just said, but so hopefully you're seeing the screen and doing that. Today's presenter is Johnnie Freeman, and he published a book last year called The Forgotten Hidden Heroes, Dayton 1913 Flood. There you go. I've worked with Johnny before. We collaborated back on the Dayton area Big Read when it was the Wright Brothers book by David McCullough, and we did a book talk at Mount Enon Baptist Church, where he is a trustee and also I forget your exact position there. The ministry committee, is that what I forget what you call it?
I am the historical ministry chairman.
There you go. Okay, great. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, Johnny. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and you will become the focus of everyone's screen. If you, for our audience, if you go to speaker view, then Johnny will become the primary focus of your screen.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
How are you doing today? I am Captain Top Hat. I am inside of the historical Mount Enon Mission Baptist Church at 1501 3rd Street. Hello, ma'am and sirs. It's indeed honor coming for you today, this lovely day. I'm here to talk to you, as Brian Potts said, Mr. Potts, talk to you about the Dayton 1913 flood, particularly the impact that African Americans had on that historical sad day. Like today, I'll tell you I'm the historical Mount Enon Baptist Church, who I'll tell you later on had an impact on the flood and have contributed to the flood. But let me tell you a story. Like everything that goes on, everything did have a great story to tell. Now, it's not a happy story, it's a sad story. So you got any Kleenex or some paper towels, please get them, ma'am and sir, right now, because it's a tear jerker for you right now. The story I'm gonna tell you about was a guy named, what was his name again? I'm kind of old, so it's kind of go back and forth. William Epinasty was his name. Now, William Epinasty was an African-American man during the Dayton 1930 flood. He had his family, he had 2 kids, a wife, and he was along the Miami Valley River. Now, William Epinasty, being a man of little means, but wanted to take care of his family. Saw fit to put a little shack along the Miami Valley River. And as it runs along the Miami Valley River, William Epinasty built that little shack with his 2 strong hands. And as he built that shack, made out of lumber, he had got here, there, nails there, because he wasn't a very rich man. And of course, his house was not up to code, but it was enough to keep the wind out, the water a foot from him, and also animals and critters around him, and with protection for his wife and his 2 youngins. Now, William Epinasty worked like many of you did when you have a job, worked sun up, sun down. Didn't ask for anything but a good work deserved good pay. Now, he's a strong man, worked out, put hay bales up and did odd jobs around to pay, do everything he needed to do to provide for his family. Now, when the day hit, when the flood hit, it's a sad day. Many people lost their life. It was raining and Miami Valley River was getting higher. And we didn't know he'd seen the Miami Valley River before, because he had been a man before, had been along the river, fished there, swam there. So he knew about the river rising up and receding. But on that day, that glorious day in 1913, the day the rain didn't stop, William Epinasty, like many other people, scratching his head. What's wrong with this water? Why don't it stop? It rained and 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 rained. William Epinasty probably thought that knowing that ark would come again and help out everybody, but that wasn't the case. No Noah was coming along. No ark was coming along to save anybody that day, except for the mind and ingenuity of men and women in Daytonians, Ohio. Now, as we tell you more about the story about William Epinasty, that fateful day, he decided that the water was going 4 foot. William Epinasty said to his wife, wife, I need to get you and the youngin to a safe place. Now, remember that shack I told you about, right? Shack was building, wasn't a sturdy one in the world, but it had good foundation. It's nice boarding, the support stuff, and keep the rain out and the snow out. And you know the weather's out of Ohio. You want to change, wait an hour the next day, and it'll be 40 degrees the next day and 70 the next. William Epinasty, late at night, and he was sitting out there. He said, I got to get out of here. And he seen in the distance, he seen Emmanuel School. It was behind Main School, not too far from it. It's all alleyway. He said, if I could get there, carry my youngins there first, and I come back to my wife, it'd be good. So William Epinasty, he got his 2 sons, one on one shoulder, one on the other shoulder, and he told him his wife discussed it earlier, and he said, I'll go take them down directly there. I'll be back to get you, pretty lady, before you count to 25. Being a strong man, William Epinasty put one son on one end, other son on the other end, and he got ready to get that water. And the minute he hit that water, he knew right there and there, boys and girls, he had some trouble. He had some security trouble. That water was rushing and stuff, and he seen branches and stuff. He even seen logs traveling out there in the water, floating. When he felt that water, being a strong man with strong legs, strong arms, he said to himself, felt his feet move, and the current was rushing real bad. And he said to himself, you know what, if I drop down and I lose my sons, he said, I wouldn't be able to live myself. And if I do survive, by golly, my wife will make sure I die. And he put his eyes breathing. So William Epinasty decided he's gonna go ahead and told his wife, hey, beautiful young lady, tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw these kids up to you. You hold them, and we're gonna ride this water out. Ain't no water to I need a bath anyway. No run with a little water on me and us. We'll be better in the morning. So he threw one of the youngin up there. The water still rushing 4 feet, I told you before. Then William Epinasty got Seller waiting. And like he was now. He got the son, he had it right there, and he threw him up. As he threw him up, he lost his footing. And there William Epinasty, swimming back and forward, turning and twisting over and over and over and over in this water. And it seemed like the devil himself was gripping down, pulling him down in that water. Wouldn't have nothing to do with fate. He's a strong swimmer, but for some reason, this water don't seem like gonna be the death of him. William Epinasty said to himself, I just got to make sure that my last toss was on the money. Remember, he had 2 sons. So he was going under, and he twisting and turning. You ever seen those movies about Tarzan, old movies, and Tarzan jumping in the water and he's swimming around, the gators flying around, and he's fighting with the gators. It seems like that's what he's fighting. He wants to fight a big old alligator, twisting and turning. And then all of a sudden, went up to himself, I gotta find out if I made that mark. If I told my son and tossed him, my wife called him. So what William Epinasty did, he went ahead and he caught his breath, probably for the last time, mind you. And William Epinasty looked on that old shack he had and saw his beautiful bride, 1 son, and he saw another. He did it. By golly, he did it. He made the mark, saved his son, saved his wife. Now, William Epinasty was doing that. He he was probably last time he see his wife, so he glanced at his wife, eye-to-eye contact, and looked at her right in the eye. And she knew, and he knew. And he was gone. Told you it wasn't a good story, sad story. Young man, William Epinasty, they say he was 33 years old when he passed away. As reported in Dayton Journal, April 8, 1913. Now I'm gonna go right there too and tell you exactly what it read in my book here that I found. Page 83. And it says, when the water had risen about 4 feet, seizing one of his sons under each arm, he attempted to wade across the alley to the Emmanuel School building, which was just south of the family house. As soon as he struck the water, he knew it was too swift to allow him to carry out his purpose. He called to his wife to take the children. While he was pulling them to a place of comparable safety on the roof of the hut, he was carried out with the current. Now, it did said when he passed away, his lifeless body was found in the rear of 50 Ecker Street and ordered by the coroner to be taken to the morgue and NCR plant. Now, I know you're probably thinking, sad thing right there, but let me tell you something. I think William Epinasty would have did it again, like most of you out there. Fathers, mothers, grandparents, uncles, that it's you, ma'am or sir, had a chance. You lived your life. He was 33 years old, no young guy, but his kid was a lot younger than he were. They gave his life up for his kid. I'm quite sure you do the same. And that's the story. William Epinasty. All right. Like Brian said, my name is Johnnie Freeman. I am the author of the untold story of the impact that African American had on the Dayton 1913 flood. Now, keep my hat back on. No, it's not appropriate in the house, but ladies, excuse me. But the thing about the flood was this: there was a terrible thing that went on, and many people stepped up to the plate and did great things, including African Americans, Hungarians, a lot of more races, women. You may go inside of the excuse me. You may go inside of different museums inside of Dayton and see pictures on the wall, and you see that great thing that people doing and stuff like that. And then you don't see any of the diversity that Dayton is known for. And that's mainly what I want to do for the book. My wife and I went to a museum, and we looked around. I'm not going to name the museum. Probably can figure it out for yourself. With the museum, we looked around and saw great, wonderful pictures of the flood. Fantastic showing of compassionship and humanitarianism. But only thing about it, we saw what we see typically inside of Dayton, Ohio, diversity. We're known for diversity. And I'm not Daytonian, I'm from Arkansas, but from my research, they've been known to be some diversity. Everybody pull one, like Dayton is strong. But this standpoint, you've already seen from 1913, dealing with the historical district, that we have always been Dayton strong. Now read some stuff to you real quick. Hope I won't bore you too much. It's really been enjoyable talking to individuals about the Dayton flood and how African Americans and other races have impacted other genders. I'm not gonna bore you with my name. My name is Johnnie Freeman. I said it 4 or 5 times, and I will tell you all my accolades and stuff like that. That's not an important thing. The important thing is that the impact that those people, like women, Epinasty, and other great people, sacrificed, came to Dayton a day that the rain didn't stop, and they was committed to assist other people and risk their own lives in doing so. So all my degrees and everything else I did, awards I got, is really pale in comparison to life right now. Especially when we talk about, excuse me, got a cold. Especially right now when we talk about the COVID-19 going on and how everything's going. And this book kind of rescind the heart, like they're doing right now, the heart of the champions that we have. Some people giving and giving and giving, and look for brighter days, but still giving. Now the rain started, everybody probably know, the rain started between March the 23rd to the 26th. Read something to you on page 3. It was the first time I heard about the, I'm so sorry. It's the first time I heard about the flood. Well, the impact that African American had on the flood. The original telescope on Wednesday, April the 6th, 1913, it said, Dayton streets look worse on Monday, April the 14th, than a week ago. Tons of mud, furniture, books, pianos, over 1,000 men, mostly Negroes, have been imported from Chicago and Pittsburgh to shovel slimy debris. Now I'm gonna put a pin on that right now. I'll tell you about something. I had talked to a young gentleman who talked to me about the Dayton flood. I mean, we're talking about the Dayton flood, and he's from Dayton, he's from UD, and he was telling me all about these individuals who a lot of alumni are from Pittsburgh and also Chicago. And when I heard that, you know how your light bulb come in your head, you say, okay, I'm on the right track. That's the same way I felt. I felt I was on the right track because here it is, this person, young guy, I think he just graduated this time around. I think I saw him on Facebook, and he was telling about UD and how they had alumni from Chicago and Pittsburgh. So from that standpoint, just want to share that I felt pretty good about that. So that was the first part we ran into it. The first time I saw it in the religious telescope was mentioned there. Now my book is divided into 3 sections. One part is about the storm. The second part is about the forgotten. The third part is about the heroes. Everybody loves a hero, whether it be Superman, Batman, The Dark Knight, or Green Arrow, or Black Panther. Everybody loves a hero. Now, this book discusses the rich history of the West Side as well. During the flood, there was some prejudice going on, like in all situations, all areas, as we know in America and other countries. But read something from page 49 and 50 of the book. Talks about some things that went on there. Okay, it says the pre-flood employment for African American was difficult and sometimes may have resulted in them having to relocate to find adequate wages. It was reported that African Americans were no longer hired as teachers, and in 1880 was excluded from union membership. The author, he discussed that in an interview that was conducted in 1912, that an African American academic named Frank Quinlan, he stated, newly arrived African Americans from the South had a stranger prejudice directed towards them than those from Dayton. There was also a problem with adequate living arrangement for African Americans. There were certain areas in Dayton where they were closed to certain races. Some African Americans had wealthy families who could afford to live in better conditions. However, there were those who were warned with threats of violence to stay away out of some whites' residence areas. The only solution for these African Americans was to get cheap houses, apartments, or bungalows. In many cases, the only adequate housing for minorities were near the Great Miami Valley River, like we discussed about William Epinasty, which is where the flood water originated. It has been discussed that mortality and property loss in Dayton 1913 flood was higher for Blacks than that of the white population. Now, opinion that as well. Now I want to tell you, this is not a Black or white thing. This is a historical thing. This is something that Dayton, Ohio, about 1913 flood, was held back from them. These are stories that I found through research, 5 years of research. I found out through my research. Now, so it's not a color line, it's a history line that it should benefit both whites, Blacks, all races should benefit from this. And understand that we got a great story to tell, because you'll find out later that we had help to make this place so great, fantastic, and to clean up all the messes going on here. Now, the first thing happened is martial law. When the flood hit, you probably already know that there was a martial law, and it was declared by Lawrence J. Hapner. I'm not sure if Brian has a picture of Lawrence J. Hapner there or not. Let me see if I got it right here. Lawrence J. Oh, there you go, right there.
Yeah, I don't think I have that one, Johnny.
Okay. Okay. Lawrence J. Hapner, let me see, right on. He's the guy right, he's the main guy right there. Okay. I'm putting the light on. Now, it says right in the picture, it says, during the flood, martial law was declared March 25th by the National Guard under the leadership of Hapner, L. J. Hapner.
Is this the right one, Johnny?
What's that again?
Can you see the picture now on the screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Very good. Now, also, another thing, what you have it or not, was this one right here. It's a picture of the, there was some Black regiment also there. And it says in the caption, it said, bottom, it says a mule and horse landed here when the flood was at its highest. Now I put it top, so according to the Ohio National Guard, there was 3 African Americans colored regiment assisting with the Dayton 1913 flood. I bet that the mule was glad to see them. Okay, now get back to the Mr. Hapner. Now the flood went on, so Mr. Hapner, as seen in the pictures, they assisted with the flood and helping out with the martial law. Turn to page 69, read some more on that. I read that. The great thing about it too is that I have it here. Do I have it here? Make sure I got a card. Tell you a little story why I got this on it. My wife bought me this card for last Christmas. The same card I had at What's Called. And the great thing about a post, that was a postcard. And the great thing about a postcard is they have writings on the back. And it's so neat. I'm reading it to you so you can tell them more history. I'm not going to try to bore you anymore, but it's Miss Ben Summers. And in cursive it says, hello, fellow May Howard. We are well. Where are you coming down? And are your birds? Did you raise? And how much do you ask for them? I want one if you have one still. Let me know about it, the birds, and when you are coming down. And that was written in 1913. So neat. Now, the flood impact, page 19. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of it, but it talks a little about the flood and how it first happened. The flood in 1913 was the real test for the Red Cross in providing relief on such a large scale. The Red Cross had already seen action on May the 31st, 1889 in Jonestown, Pennsylvania, when the South Fork Dam broke and released a wall of water. Jamestown was the home of 30,000 people. And when the water rushed forward on the town at 40 miles per hour, it was without mercy. The flood killed more than 2,200 people. And the cries for relief were heard by the Red Cross, led by Clara Barton, famous Clara Barton. The Red Cross arrived at the scene of the mayhem 5 days later. In 1913, President Woodrow Wilson had trust in the Red Cross abilities to assist with the flood. He issued a national appeal for a flood and designated the Red Cross as the government's office relief agency. The report showed that the total expenditures were $3,265,300. This included monies spent to aid Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and West Virginia. The highest expenditures were in, of course, Ohio, which totaled $2,051,535. A report compiled by Clyde Buckingham in 1953 stated the following: building destroyed, 3,042. Building damaged, 70,000. Person killed, 502. Person homeless, 70,672. Families assisted, 80,800. So I'll tell you a little bit about the destruction of the flood and how it impacted not only Ohio, but other states as well. Now, the flood was around, but you also need something else to benefit from the flood. What? Manpower or woman power. You needed people to help out. You need people to do things. You needed an army to assist and get all this stuff cleaned up. So I address it on page 107 of my book. Well, not really addressed it. It said the Dayton Herald reported April the 17th, 1913. It was a correspondence between the mayor of Dayton and two employment agencies for Indianapolis and one for Washington. They stated they could provide assistance if needed. The article read, thousands will come to assist in cleanup. Right there in this page. If the bringing in of hosts of laborers will clean up the streets of the city, Dayton can be cleaned up overnight. Among the scores of communications to the mayor and to other city officials asking for workmen are needed in the city are a number from employment agencies from various sections of the country. The Star Labor Agency of Indianapolis wrote Wednesday that it could supply Dayton with from 500 to 1,000 men at any time. The Arlington Agency in Washington, D.C. wrote that 5,000 colored laborers could be shipped in this city on short notice. Right there, Dayton Herald, April 17, 1913. Now, side point again, you might ask yourself, how did you find all that information out? Long hours sitting in front of a computer system, a microfilm, and looking at stuff, filling stuff out, and looking at it, working it out, writing it down, trying to make sense of it in my own head, and trying to see how can I put this information together. And then looking for information in any of the books that talked about African American. There was very few information about African American assisting in flood. So when I heard that, I knew I had to write this book. And another thing why I had to write this book, because there's a story nobody told. And don't you like to hear about a story nobody heard about before? I love those type of stories. My mother and father always tell me about stories about African Americans, or I hear other story about great men and great women that do things, and then nobody heard about them. And I said, wow, that's such an amazing story. So that's why I want to do it. Railroad. Nothing about it. So, okay, now, got the workforce. We got the problem right here. The problem, got the heroes coming. We got the problem. The problem was the flood, all the water. And understand it also, the day 930 flood wasn't because a dam broke. No, it was just water. It just rained and rained and it rained continuously, and it just oversaturated the soil, and it just water couldn't go anywhere, and so it just kept raining, it didn't stop. So water had nowhere to go. Now, we just talked about it just now. Now you got manpower, or woman power, whatever you got. You got power. And then from there, you need some transportation. How did they get from one location to the next? Because of the flood. Like anything else, water cut off a lot of things. And when it's still flowing, you can't get to it. So how did they get there? Did they fly them in? Did they drop them down, parachute them in? How did they get them in? The railroad. Let me read on page 40. Here you go. Dayton had several train companies which were essential for the transport of food, supplies, and people to a certain destination. The three main railroads included CCC and STL. It stands for Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis. CH&D, later named B&O. Of course, B&O, you know, monopoly. What's it stand for? Come on. But the CH&D, that's Cincinnati, Hamilton, and Dayton. And then it said PRR, Pennsylvania Railroad. The B&O, of course, is Baltimore and Ohio. See, I know you guys knew that. Pennsylvania line was the only one that was running after the flood. The cost to repair the other lines included a loss of lives. Although the Pennsylvania line was open, the Cincinnati division was the line connected with Dayton report said that this division had several major problems. A culvert was washed out, water was over the tracks, and water was reported as high as some bridges. So how you gonna find, how you gonna, people walk in even, you know, it's over bridges. Now, other thing about it too is that, now, from the railroad standpoint, okay, it's hard to get in, but people, they ain't got no money, right? How we gonna get this up? How we get men in here? You know, how we gonna pay for stuff? In this book, the 1913 flood and how it was met by a railroad, Louis Bigelow reported that the Pennsylvania line wanted to make sure Dayton, Ohio received all the help it needed. They announced it on March 27, 1913, that the line, they wrote this in the book, said, would transport free of charge every pound of relief supply entrusted to its care for the devastated district, as well as the men in charge and all doctors and nurses. They will be carried over the company own line if they were open or over other lines. If Pennsylvania was blocked or over any known combination of lines and with the least possible delay, they would have the right of way under all circumstances. That's one way they did it. 110, read 110 for you. And I'm gonna hurry up, get some stuff done so I can answer questions later. I'm at least like 10 minutes for questions or 15 minutes for questions. Says right here in the book. It said Pennsylvania lines, trains now running between all points. Passengers serving on the Pennsylvania system recently interfered with by floods has been resumed, and trains are now being operated between all points over usual routes. That was printed in the Dayton Daily News, April 14, 1913. Okay, now let's talk about something else that's going on. Okay, talk about African Americans came here and helped during the flood. We heard about Washington D.C. and Indianapolis was able to give stuff to the African Americans. But you ask yourself again, another question. There's so many questions going on. I'm hearing your question in the back of my head. So where's the proof that said they came over? There was something going on. There was a thing I called forgotten. Remember I said 3 sections, the storm. Now we're talking about the forgotten. The forgotten is the 500 that came over here first, from what I'd say. Could have been others here before then, but mainly documented was the 500 that came from Chicago. Read page 1045. Now the picture, see right, where is it? Okay. Sorry, had to go get it. This is a photo right here. I'm not sure if Brian got that, but it was in the Dayton Daily News. Put it back up there. But what it does is that the picture was placed on the front page of the Dayton Daily News, April the 5th, 1913. The heading said, camp established on seminary grounds for import laborers. Seminary grounds, that's a seminary. That's a Bomberg Seminary ground. Bomberg Seminary ground is not too far from here, where I'm in this church where I'm at right now. And also, for your information, also the Bomberg Seminary, when they had their first submission ceremony, the graduates, they're like in 14 or whatever, 13, they had it here in this church. FYI, that's free information for you. It says Dayton News, April the 5th, 15, 1913. The heading said, camp established on seminary grounds for imported laborers. And in the caption, it stated, the picture shows the camp for imported laborers that has been established on the ground of the Bone Break Cemetery. Hundreds of men who have been brought to the city are being given comfortable living accommodation. But let me read a page to you. Read page 26. Let's find out about the fire when it came. Okay. It said the date that 500 laborers from Chicago arrived in Dayton is debatable. The Dayton Journal stated that they arrived on Friday evening, April 11th. However, the Dayton Daily said they arrived on Saturday morning at 4 a.m., April the 12th. Nevertheless, whichever time they arrived, this group was eager to complete a large job in return for fair wages. Most of the group consists of African Americans from Chicago, but there were several foreigners in the group as well. They arrived on a Pennsylvania train. We talk about Pennsylvania train again. The fare for which was free for workers who was assisting with the flood relief effort. They departed from the train with E.K. Jackwit, who turned them over to Sheriff McCully Hoffman. The sheriff then escorted the men. He escorted them to the west side of Dayton, Ohio, where they immediately began removing mud and debris. The city of Dayton also wanted to utilize them in different parts of the city once the west side was completed. He had brought the laborers in Dayton. He visited a few days before he arrived with the 500 laborers. During the initial visit, he met with H.E. Tabbert, the head of the engineering department, and volunteered to help in the cleanup. The men were under the command of Captain Hafner, talked about earlier. It reported these laborers were served, this is good food they are served at the time, roast beef, beans, corn, tomatoes, hominy, salt pork, cabbage, coffee, and bread and butter. The men signed on for 60 days at a pay of $1.75 per day, along with boarding and lodging, totaling $105 per person. The pay received by the men from Chicago was a quarter less than the other laborers. In the April 7, 1913 issue of the Dayton Herald, it reported that all laborers were paid the following: individual laborers $2, foreman $3, and $5 for a 2-horse team with driver. As can be seen, the laborers coming from Chicago were paid less. However, the laborers decreased in pay would have been because of the city of Dayton, including meals and lodging, to bear the cost of 25 cents per day. Now, other thing about it too is that when they came in here, there was a concern about individuals being there and concern about the violence, because a lot of them brought razor blades, protect. You know, they come from another place. They come to Chicago. They come to a different place like you do. You send protection, whether it be mace, whether it be a registered handgun, whether it be a knife, or whether it just be your pen, or whether it be your mouth. I must use my mouth most of the time and try to yell, "Help, police!" and my phone calling 911. It says right here about the concern about the laborers. Colonel Tabbert reported that the committee that they had found the squad of laborers brought from Chicago and now installed in a camp on the west side to be an unusual, capable, and decent lot of men. They were selected with reference to their sobriety as well as their strength. From that point too, let's go ahead and do something else too, because my time is running down. I don't want to spend too much on this part. I'm gonna skip on ahead to something else you know about. Let's skip on ahead to I'm gonna skip the whiskey. Talking about the whiskey right now. Let's go to the heroes. Okay. How about the heroes right quick? We all gave a hero already. William Epinasty was a great hero. He did a lot of great things. But let's talk about somebody else. On page 84 of the book. Thought you got this person right here, William Sloan. Do you have a picture of him, Brian, or not? William Sloan. William Sloan was a left-handed pitcher for the Dayton Marcos. And Bill has been affectionately called. He saved over 300 individuals during the Dayton. What I did was, they also said it's an award called the Kerrigan Award. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. And what is an award that when you sacrifice yourself, give a candidate get this award. And a lot of people during the Dayton Flood received this award, and they spoke about Bill Sloan getting the award. So what he did was, but on my research, I found out that there was no award given. I called the company, I called the place and asked them in Canada, and they said, well, there's no information about him receiving it. There was issues that they say he had received it on one part inside newspaper, and then doesn't see he received it. So they said, well, it's mainly because of and I looked in it, there were several people who saved like 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. And this guy saved a whole town, 317 people he saved, him and his 2 friends. I'm quite sure you guys heard about the story about William Sloan. He had not looked that up, but because time purpose, I don't want to hold you too long. W.G. Sloan, he saved a lot of people during that time frame. And I'm gonna skip over that real quick. Another name to look for is Frank Riesinger. He was an undertaker. He helped out and saved a whole lot of people during the Dayton Flood. Now, another thing about him, talk about it real quickly. Talk about this guy right here. I never heard of him before. But anyway, he's attorney Fernando Lee Barnett, Chicago. He represented 200 laborers not adequately paid during the Dayton 1913 flood. His wife was Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells. He came to Dayton one time, and he told the city official that 200 was not paid correctly. In the paper it says 70 got sent home. Then later on, he came down real briefly and left. I'm quite sure his wife was she was getting anti-lynching laws she was against, and so nationally he probably came to Dayton, Ohio. I'm not saying any of the lynching went on in Dayton, Ohio. I don't know the numbers and stuff like that in Dayton, Ohio. I know there's a lot of lynching going on at the time frame in America, and so he went back. He went back to Chicago, and they had a meeting about, and let me see if I can find it for you real quickly here in the book. Okay, there goes G. Sloan right there. One of the persons, we're gonna forget about that. Now we'll skip over there. Another person to talk about that did a great thing on was right here. Front page of the Dayton Herald, April the 1913 edition. The bottom is E.T. Banks. Another great man who helped out. He helped establish the 5th Street YMCA in Dayton, Ohio, as one of the oldest African-American YMCA in the country. He also assisted in writing the city charter with other prominent members of the city. And this was in the Dayton Herald on April 19, 1913. Now, get back to this guy about F.L. Barnett. So it's right here. Ms. Barnett then returned to Chicago, and on Saturday, June the 14th, 1913, in the Chicago Defender, he reported Honorary F.L. Barnett, who had been in Dayton, Ohio, investigating the outrage against the 500 Negro workmen who were there to help clean up the city after the flood, which make his report Sunday at 4 p.m. at the reading room, 2830 State Street. All those who were victims of that outrage, as well as others who wish to learn about it, are cordially invited to be present. Good music. Exactly, say good music. Now I'm gonna go back real quick and tell you something about here too, about what happens there. Okay, the hungry and girly. Yes, the city was finally starting to. Yeah, the city was the city of Dayton was finally starting to finish cleaning up the streets and were slowly getting rid of items that remind them of the flood. a well-known African-American lawyer from Chicago, was in Dayton for several clients. The lawyer name was Fernand Lee or F.L. Barnett. Mr. Barnett was a well-known lawyer in Chicago, but he was also the husband of Miss Ida B. Wells, we just said before. She was the early leader of the civil rights movement as well as other things. And it said before what he came for. All right. Now, because it's 2:51 right now, and I want to get more questions later on, I'm going to go ahead and read to you guys the conclusion that I have on page 101. Then we'll go into questions. The flood of 1913 was a powerful force of nature that bent the people of the Gem City. Although this city and its inhabitants were underwater, their hopes and dreams were not drowned. There have been many other books that discuss this flood and the impact it made. Although it was important to shine a light on a certain race that was looked over during this flood, the main goal was to tell the whole story of the Dayton 1913 flood. The people you meet in these pages were strong, not fame-seeking, but opportunists, determined, wide-eyed, adventurous, and seeking prosperity. They are all the characteristics that makes us human. As you read through the pages, I wonder if, regardless of your skin tone, age, or physical condition, perhaps one of your past relatives were one of the forgotten heroes I didn't mention. That energy and compassion still burns deep in your veins as well. Take the time today and greet your neighbors. Shake their hands. It costs nothing to pass a smile or a warm hug to someone. There are some stories that send you into faraway places or make you feel superpowered after reading their pages. This was a story that I felt needed to be told to complete the Dayton 1913 flood. I hope it was informative and sparked conversation that today the rain didn't stop. Thank you. It's been Johnnie Freeman. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Johnny. That's wonderful. We do have some questions, and for our attendees, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A function, or raise your hand and we'll let you ask your question live. So I'm going to quickly share my screen because one of the questions we have is about the picture that we shared. And so Donna was wondering where this picture was taken. Can you see that film? Yeah.
Yes. I'm not totally sure, but I think it is in this area, when maybe right in the 3rd Street area, it was in this area because there were a lot of them because the church I'm standing on right now, Mount Enon Church, it was United Brethren Church. It was 3rd and Euclid, United Brethren Church. 3rd Street, United Brethren Church. But probably in this vicinity right in here, or because I see the house right there. So it had been this area right here because that way it was close to everything else. So I'm not sure exactly where it was located because even on the picture, a picture that I got, used when they have pictures and I had them blown up, it says on the back where exactly was located at. So I had no recollection where exactly was taken at. So I apologize. I can only speculate in this area vicinity right here because remember, it's a Bone Break Seminary, right? So Bone Break Seminary is in the same vicinity. It's okay?
Okay.
Bone Break Seminary is in the same vicinity. So because same vicinity, I would think that, and he was over all the firing that came. So I would think he'd be closeness to them because they was talking about how they want to do it. So it had been same vicinity, I would think. So hope to answer your question or some parts of it.
So another question was whether the damage to the west side of Dayton was as extensive as to the downtown area. Was it as affected by the flood?
Yes, it was affected by the flood. I would say, but because the part I'm at right now, like I said before, is high. You can even see the railroad. All right. The railroad area right there is go down a little area, and you see a little downward. If you've been on 3rd Street, you know when you come to 3rd Street, you come where you come up to where 3rd Street at, and you pass Euclid, and as you pass railroad track. You see the railroad, then it starts dipping downward. And so somebody told me one time that our church had underground spring. And the historical community, we laugh about it because if it had underground springs, the water would have what? Came up. And it would have flooded, because underground springs mean what? The water can go where it goes, so it's gonna come up, so it comes up like anything else. So and this in the basement was the first. This church is the first relief effort for the Dayton 913 flood, and I put it in my book as well. But to answer your question, a lot of houses, I'm not sure on that how many houses was damaged or not during the flood, but all the ones on this area right here, you see area right in here, you can always go to the website and see different ones about the flood right here. The very bottom, see the highlight area. And from this standpoint, it didn't come up this area right here. So a lot of the real big houses, pretty house on the west part of Dayton, very beautiful houses. Dunbar houses here as well. And I'm not sure that, and then also the Wright family house that was on there is down that way a little bit. I'm not sure if they was affected or not. I'm not sure if it was high or not. So to answer your question, I'm really not sure on I can see houses that have been here for a long time on some parts. So I think it didn't get affected. Some areas is dead.
Okay. So we've got a couple of questions about the workers, from specifically the ones that came from Chicago, it looks like, and people are wondering if they ever got fully paid.
From my standpoint, the research I did, the part I read about, the part I read about the attorney going to about Chicago. Can I find the book? Yeah, yeah. F.L. Barnett. The last part I read to you about him going to Chicago was the last correspondence I had from them. And the thing about it too was they talked to Barnett about, let me find it real quick. I hope I find it. I'm trying to find it for you, read it real quick. And so he had a meeting with them and talked to them. They took an advisement. They never say they would or wouldn't. And what I also did, you know what? I wondered as well. I said, did they pay him or not? So I looked in research, and I looked on the, I could not even find when I went to records, and I went to where the books about the meetings they had. They had no notes about this meeting, but they had it inside of the newspaper. And I tried to find any kind of recollection about anything that they paid him or not. As far as I know, from the records I found, there was no mention. It was not even mentioned inside of any kind of the records. And so, as far as I know, they was not paid their money, because the last part I did too, when I talked about when the Chicago Defender put in the paper about, I said good music. That's the last part I heard about it. I contacted Chicago Defender. I contacted the library in Chicago and asked them about it. And that's the only part, kind of like a dead end right there. But if anybody can find out for me, great. I'll find out more information about it. I would love it. Hope that answers your question. Bring it on, bring it on. I want more.
So we're wondering, a couple of people are wondering if any of the workers from Chicago remained in the Dayton area, and if you have any idea, like maybe how many people?
From that standpoint, I guess it'd be, I would think it like this. I don't talk bad about Chicago, but at the time frame, there was not a lot of jobs in Chicago, because it made mention to this in here. In this book, I talk about Chicago and how there were other Chicagoans, they were telling them, come to Dayton. Because remember that the big companies, they were not running at full capacity. They was not. But then after the flood, they started having more capacity. You had the ironworks, it was a big place, it was full capacity until after the flood. And so from my standpoint, what I'm saying to you is that I think a lot of them did stay behind. Because like this, I thought in my mindset, I said, if I come from an area, state, and not a lot of jobs there, but I come to another area, they need workers. They need people to do it, labor. They need engineering, they need all this stuff going on. And they're paying me to be here. I'm getting paid nothing here and something here. That's a pretty easy arithmetic there. I'm gonna stay where the money at, make more money, and invite my family and friends to come there as well. So I think they did, because remember I told you about the young guy who said there's a lot of alumni from Chicago and from Pittsburgh. Those individuals probably stayed here from Chicago and worked here. So yes, I think so.
Okay, and we got a question for Nancy. He's wondering if the workmen, so the house at the Bone Break Seminary, was that the former Union Seminary in Dayton View Triangle?
The Union Seminary, Bone Break Seminary, now it's the seminary in Dayton and Trotwood, Ohio.
Okay.
And so Bone Break Seminary was it's Bone Break Seminary. It was a land donated to by Mr. Bone Break. That's why I call it Bone Break Seminary. It was some people call it not Gracie Green, I guess, but it's an area, green area. They said, hold on. They said the area that Bone Break Seminary was on. Guess what? They said the Wright brothers flew their kites there as well. So this is a very historical place that people know really about. The area that Bone Break Seminary was on, the Wright brothers test their kites out on the same location. Now, a lot of people talking about the same location that the Bone Break Seminary was on. You look on the website, there they say they had testing about the atomic bomb. They had areas that they had do testing the atomic bomb, and it was in-house, inside of buildings. But you can look it up and see that it was testing done in there. I think the place was abandoned and later, I think, torn down, but yet and still, it was testing done on there. So very, very, very rich history that Dayton have that, like I said, that's untold story. That's untold thing a lot of people don't know about Dayton, Ohio, in this area, but back here at near the Dayton Flood, right here near the Wright family, but also the Wright family. Well, one case in point, I'm getting off subject again. The Wright brothers' house, the Wright family house, is now, they moved it always to Michigan. And I took a trip, my wife and I took a trip to Michigan, and she's a big, she does tour of our church. And she went there and she went toe to toe with the lady, asking, you guys brought this house from Ohio. Why don't you have something that says it was brought from Dayton all the way to here in Missouri, Michigan. And they said, well, we never thought about that. And they never changed it, but yet it's a good story, because the house there they had originally, it's an area there. They got it all lined out. Where was it? Still was able to see what's that. But also across the street from it is an identical house that somebody constructed, look exactly like the old. Sorry about that, Brian. I got off subject, but I thought I'd share the information.
No problem. So I've got two more questions, one from John and one from Mike. So John's question is, what is known about African Americans working on the dams? I'm assuming that's the water control system that was put in place after the flood.
Yes, John, I'm glad you said that. That's the other book I'm looking for. Before the COVID-19 hit, I had somebody asked me maybe I should do it about the dam, and I found pictures on it, and now I'm in the process of researching that. When the COVID-19 hit us, I had talk about different things and get pictures. Cause like I said, for a I can give 1,000 words, but I show 2 pictures and get 2,000 words. Like even this right here, this picture right here, 2,000 words right there. And
I
so
think I have that picture, so let me share it.
Okay. Yeah, share the picture. I want to talk about that picture real quick. I'm gonna get back, John. Why bring it up? That's what I'm looking to too, John. I'm looking into bringing it more to seeing them, telling them more about the picture. I mean, the dam. But I think it was neat because a lot of African Americans did help with the dam. We know the kid from Chicago. Now, I'm gonna put a pin where John in. You notice the picture right here. Now I want you to, it's an African American boy right in the center, right? Now, the different thing about the picture was, look right there, right? You ask yourself, generally, it's still 1913, okay? Now, everybody's friendly right here, but you tell this African boy, he's seen a little older or whatever. Am I still here? You got me? You know?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. And so you see he's a little older, whatever, maybe a little older, whatever. But look at him. It seems like, I don't know where he would, you look at a picture, you ultimate the center, right? You look at a picture, center point. He's kind of like in the center point. It seemed like he was standing there and everybody else came around him. Because generally, in this day, dealing with African American, this time frame as well, with African American, when they get in a picture, what they do? They always come from what? The left or the right. They're on the outside. They're never in the center of the picture. And it's kind of unique the way the picture is done. And it's the only picture, think about it too. There was 500 that came from Chicago, but there was probably 100 or 1,000 individuals who was around this area, young boys, young girls, who wanted to make money. This was money that I can make. And those boys, see right here, they was working. They were there to earn money. And hopefully from there, they'll get more employment from other places. Now, getting back to John's question. Yes, I am working with the Conservancy to find more pictures about African Americans that help out with the dam. So yes, I'm looking at that. So thank you for that question, John.
Good. So Mike's question is, wasn't the West Side a more affluent white population area? And would the population shift, would it might have been due to the flood and influx of helpers who moved into the area? Uh-oh.
All right, let me cut my what's call on. You can't hear me, can you?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, okay. You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, what's the question again? I'm sorry. And who is it from again?
This is from Mike.
Okay, Mike.
And,
okay. Hey, Mike.
he says, wasn't the West Side a more affluent white population area? Would the population shift have been due to the flood and the influx of helpers who moved in?
You're from the West Side, right? The West Side?
Yeah, correct.
You are exactly right, Mike. This area was Hungarian. You look in your books too. It was a lot of Hungarians here. They owned the city, like. And they called it. Not sure. Somebody said they call it Hunk Town. I'm not sure what Hunk Town means. Somebody they call it Hunk Town. They owned the city pretty much. And yes, the west part of Dayton was rich whites. There was a couple of blacks in there because we said Dunbar was here. But there was a lot of very rich, wealthy. You come here and see the big houses. It's amazing, beautiful houses here. And they slowly build them back up and fix them up because they, and yes, I found out in the 60s, this church was United Brethren Church, and it was a predominantly white area. And like you said, in 1913, slowly African American moved into this area, and this church was when I read the story, the pastor, he said he was working towards trying to bring more blacks to the inside this church, and he brought more blacks in. The more blacks he brought in, so to speak, the more of his other congregation left out. And I think from the reading I read that he was trying to talk about, God loves all people. We are all one race, and they moved out, and so he moved out with them, and we purchased the land
I mean, the house is like 1960s, and it slowly start being a more Black or African American area. So yes, Mike, it was predominantly white, and it gravitate to more being an African American area. Good question.
Good question. So I might want to just add that the houses are beautiful. So.
Oh my goodness, they're beautiful. Yeah, and the great thing about it, I thought about it, said it'd be great to fix the house and do a tour across. You know, Dayton, Ohio really missed the boat, because you go to the place inside of Michigan that the Ford did. He got all kind of houses there. And you know what they do? They do tours all the time. They have old cars driving up there. They do tours, and they just it makes a whole lot of area, and they makes a lot of money. Make a lot of money. And this area is rich with history, and it'd be good to get everything back up to where the Glander was many years ago, before the flood hit. Thanks again, Mike.
Well, all right. So I'm not seeing any additional questions. Well, maybe someone's. So we've got a couple of thank yous coming your way, Johnny. So thank you everyone for being here. Johnny, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I believe that your book is for sale on Amazon, and I've shared a link to that page. So
you know, I tell you guys too, who all was on here today, I tell you what, you order that book today on Amazon, it's you get it for, I think it's $9.99 or $10 roughly, tax or whatever. You get with Brian, and I will come there, and he set up a time and date that you guys come there, and I will come there and sign it free of charge, because you guys got on here today. I'll sign it free of charge, and you can meet me with it, and I'll sign your book from the author. Okay?
Okay, absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Then also, my books are available at bookstores. I'll send a link to you, and my mind is escaped my mind with bookstores. At 2 bookstores at right now, and I send to Brian. You can pick them up there too. Okay.
So we'll put together a follow-up email and add that information to it. We are recording this, so we will be able to share that link, and people can direct people to where to go for the books and for the video. So again, thank you,
What other thing,
Johnny.
Yeah. One last thing. I'm sorry. One other thing, but I am on Twitter. I never been on Twitter before. I'm on Twitter now, and I'm on Instagram. Look for my name and the untold story of Dayton 930 Flood, and be able to get all that stuff. That find me there and follow me. Got other things hopefully going on. And one good shout out to Brian. After the COVID-19 hit, I made a lot of different. I did all the tour of the various libraries, but then as the COVID-19 hit, I had to stop everything. I had several things set, and Brian called me up and said, "Hey, how about doing this? Starting back over." And my heart started again about, okay, I'm ready to go again. So I am thankful to Brian, and also to the Wright Memorial Library for allowing me to come and do this book series reading. Thank you.
And thank you, Johnny.
That's all the questions. Morning. That's it.
That is it. We are. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I do want to let you know that we have one more kind of historic event or history-related event coming up on May 31st. Author and illustrator Jeff Wilson will be doing a presentation on Ohio legends. He's written 3 volumes of Ohio legends, where he's collected kind of odd, quirky tales of Ohioans and places in Ohio. So if you can join us for that, that is, again, May 31st at 2 p.m. And we'll send that in the follow-up email also. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you then.
You guys later.